Welcome to CSE 2111 midterm review practice. The first part is about summary and average. Let's go ahead to work on this question. So write a formula in cell summary B3. Here is summary B3, which can be copied down. And of course, every time we match these two words, we know it's talk about the dollar sign. To calculate the average score for each quiz according to different classes. Since this practice is about reviews, I want to talk about the different average functions we learned so far. Average, average if, and average ifs. So which one I should use? So let's talk about this difference. The average is very simple. It's just average different numbers together. So for example, for this one, you want to use average only if you want to, for example, know the average score for Jillian. So if you use that, it would be very simple that use average of C3 to F3. Sorry for the writing. Okay, this one is the one way to use the average, and the other one would be C3, comma, D3, E3, and F3. But notice that the only correct way to use average or sum is to either use comma to calculate the average or sum of different cells, or use colon to calculate the average or sum of a range of cells, but never use something like sum C3 plus D3. Okay, this is wrong. Never use that, because the sum is already means plus them together, so you do not need to add another plus inside of them. Okay, so this is the first thing you want to pay attention on the average function. So the second one is you want to know when should we use average and when should we use the sum divided by the counts. For example, here, for the example of Jillian has a 0 score in quiz 2, which probably means she did not take the second quiz. So if you use the average function, it will run out with use 89 plus 0 plus 83 plus 92 and divided by 4. So it will run out the number which is this average, which is this function. So we run out with a number of 66. But if you just want to ignore the quiz 2, which would be much more close to the reality of Jillian's average score, so if you use the sum, would be C3 to F3. And divide by 3, because she actually only took 3 quizzes, then it will run out with a number of 88. So you can see it's a large difference between these two, 66 to 88. So make sure that you know that when you want to use average and when you want to use the sum divided by the counts. If you have a 0 inside of your cells range, you probably want to use sum divided by counts. But that if you, for example, if this 2 is empty but not 0, then you should use average, because it will just ignore the cell automatically. Okay, then let's talk about the average if. So average if, it means I want to average a range of number if it meets my criteria. So here, I want to know the average score for each quiz according to different classes. So my criteria is the class A. For the cell I want to work on is B3. So my class is, which my criteria is A, and my and the average, the scores I want to average is at here, the column C in the score. So when we work on this question, when we use this function, the range, which the criteria range, should be here. Since I want to see if this range, if the range here has my criteria, so we can use this function with range is score B3 to B7. And make sure you use this mark, and B3 to B7. Okay, and then your criteria is here class A, and you want to use A3 so that when you move it down it can work on B and C, so it should be A3. And we do not have to add summary with a mark here because we are working in summary sheets here, so we do not have to write the summary worksheets here, but you can add them just in case, like for save. And then my average range would be here C3, the inside of the score worksheets, C3 to C7. Okay, since my number is inside here, so that I want to calculate the average of here, so this is my average range. Okay, then we want to see the dollar sign, if where I should add the dollar sign. So I want to copy it down in the course, so that for example for here, the B3 to B7, here, when I move it down, I do not want to move it down, right? And I do not want it to move across either. So which means I need to add dollar sign in front of all of this. Is B, okay, and then go to the criteria here. When I move it across, I do not want it to move, but when it's moved down, yes, I want it, because I wanted to see the class B and C, so that which means I want to the column to stick, so I should add a dollar sign in front of its column. And then for the average table here, I want to remove on the across because so that I can know the average score for quiz 2 and 3, but I do not want it to move down. So which means I want to stick on the row, so that I should add in front of the row. Okay, so that's it, the answer for this question. And we just quickly to say what the difference between average ifs. So average if is very similar with average if. The only difference is average ifs have more criteria. Like it's criteria 1, criteria 2, and even more. So in this example, if we add another column here as rank, and I want to know the average score for senior in class A, so which means I have two criteria. One is class A and one is senior. Then I want to use the average ifs. So average range would be the same of the average range of here, and the criteria range 1 would be still the same as here. But then the criteria range 2 would be here, the new one I add, which is rank. Then it will run out that the average of students who meet the two criteria, which is in class A and also senior. That's it for these three, and the answer is here. I hope this is helpful for you. Then let's wrap up what we reviewed today. So the first thing is difference between average, average, and average ifs. This will be all the same with sum if, and sum ifs. And the second is how to use sum and average. So pay attention that only use comma or colon. The third one is when to use average and when to use sum divided by the number. So the average will not ignore the zero, but it will ignore the empty cell. So if you have a zero inside of your range, pay attention. And that's it. Thank you.